Hello everyone, in this tutorial we're gonna learn how to create tunnels like these you can find on the asset Shape FlowPath on the Unity Asset Store. This asset contains 40 tunnels already, but this tutorial if you want to make your own custom. So let's start and open the Blender file that you will have all the resources for. You will find the Blender file called example tunnels. Double click that project. At the end of this tutorial you will find a couple of few useful examples you can continue from, but at this point the file is empty. You will find here at the main usage example two hidden components, shapes, which is gonna explain later, and the start object. Let's enable that to see how it looks. This is the most basic input from the asset we have. Just need to mention that producing assets like that, thanks for Blender Geometry Node. This is not a Blender tutorial or a Geometry Node tutorial, but we expect to have a basic Blender experience to navigate through the windows, and it should be simple and just modifying properties and you will get your own result. Just to have better understanding and have the full picture, we're gonna go through the Geometry Node asset to explain how it works, and that can help you imagine what's the possible you could do with this asset. Just to show this start object, you could go to the modifier tab and you will find the generator flow node as a modifier. So basically any geometry node you will create, you will find as a modifier. From here you could do many things. You could increase the number of the segments. You could create more segments from that. And to make it looks like a tunnel or a flow, you will need to increase the shape side segments. There we go. You will find your tunnel. You can do all of the crazy stuff we've been doing with the asset. I think you now started to imagine how it's all started. So I'm gonna Control Z that for now and hide that object for now and start from the beginning. Shift A to create a new base mesh and pick any object that you want. It doesn't matter. So if we pick the plane, we're gonna press dot to focus on it, enter the edit mode and delete every shape. We need to press A to select every vertices and press delete to delete everything on the vertices. So we basically now have an empty object. To have something in the screen, you need to add a modifier. Probably custom geometry node will be under assigned and generator node. Picking that will show you the initial input from our procedural tool. It just needs to be rotated 90 degrees, so we can do that for now. We rotated that 90 degrees, so it's flat on the surface. We go to the modifier and increase the shape side segments, it starts to flow on the right direction. So we go to start this. Press dot to focus on it. This is our starting base point and we call it for now tunnel or shape example .001. This forum helped Blender decide the next tunnel if you Control D that. So Shift D this or copy Control V will increase the number automatically. So you don't need to rename anything. Control Z that for now, and let's focus on our object. First of all, I'm gonna explain a very simple thing behind this structure to understand how to produce later. Just gonna go to the Geometry Node tab. This is not a Geometry Node tutorial as I mentioned, but explaining that real quick will help you produce later. Pressing dot will center the object again on the screen, and what I need you to understand at least is that Geometry Node procedural system work with something I like to call it big cylinder and small cylinder. Cylinder is basically a segment you repeat forward. So I want you to know that shape is a one segment from three sides. And this cube you see is a small cylinder with 4 sides and 1 segment. So when I increase the shape vertices, I'm increasing the big cylinder sides. So setting that to 4, you will expect 4 cubes to appear. Just to visualize, this is how the big cylinder should looks like. And in a dimension, that's the face the cube been instantiated now. And I'm just gonna call it cube now, but it's not actually a cube, it's a cylinder based on 4 sides. So basically from that, you will understand how everything works, and these are the objects been created based on the big cylinder. Let's clear that for now, and I'm not gonna go through the nodes, but there's a very useful node called the viewer node that help you debug or know what's exactly been executed at this point of calculations. Pressing this icon of the display will show the exact shape been drawn. When I increase the number of the shape side segment, you will expect multiple of these big cylinder 4 sides. So increasing that will show a continuous sides appearing. Let's hide this display for now and see what's actually been processed, and you will see multiple of these cubes. Enabling that again, and edge segments, something like a only horizontal subdivision. It allows you to have more faces on the one side. So let's increase the wireframe opacity to see how it gonna looks like. And increasing that, as you can see, is creating more faces. When I hide this view again, you'll expect more cubes to appear. For each side, you will see 4. There we go. I think you have a better understanding how's everything work and how we get this cool result. So for now, we don't need the layout for the geometry node anymore, and I think we could go back to the main layout. With enabling the material view, you will see the coloring of that material. As you see now in this tunnel, the color is very random and there is an overlapping at this area. We're gonna fix all of these problems later, but we just need to understand a very important concept. These properties over here controlling the big cylinder properties. And from here, all the other properties control the smaller cylinder. So we're probably happy with setting that to 4 to have this symmetrical tunnel look, and we probably will increase the spacing between the objects a little. And I'm sure you understand that we increasing the big cylinder size by this property. These two properties are very custom, but I'm gonna go through it real quick now. Setting edge loop controls specific order of object to allow you to override the face itself, so you could get a unique result. So for example, setting that to 2, and the center closer change, that will create that shape you're gonna see. Changing that value will create a custom look depending on your game needs. So probably you will find this useful at some point. Setting back everything to 0 and setting our tunnel depth, and probably you understand what is that actually been controlling. If you need a very tall result of this tunnel, you will probably increase the shape side of segment to have a larger environment from that pattern. Let's skip these for now for this particular example and go to the smaller object properties. As you expect, the object side vertices, when you increase it, you'll probably see from what we mentioned before that you're gonna expect the small object to be from 3 sides. That could be useful at some point. Returning back to 4. Also, that property allows you to override the top face scale, and at some point that could be useful, but it's very custom for now. Object Y offset, this is a very important property to avoid this collision. Let's get to the geometry node real quick for now. And open the debug view, you will notice here this object been on the center. So increasing the Y offset will push the object back at this direction for each of them. So they stay aligned on that position. So there is no collision at this point. When I increase the offset, you will probably notice the sides getting the correct distance between. Next, if we want to create shape like that, I'm just gonna simplify the edge segment for number of 2, for example. And from here, I'm gonna increase the size of the object. Going back to the layout, and you will see how's everything looking now. One thing more, I'm gonna increase the material randomness number to have a solid color for a better view for now. Then we're gonna increasing the Y. Wouldn't be noticeable if you inside the tunnel itself, but it probably gonna help if you wanna achieve some look like that. So that gives the feeling of something very protected. Let's increase the Z-axis to reduce the space between them, and adjust to offset to have the same spacing between the objects. That looks right for now. We could just set a fixed number, so 2.5 and 2.5. Increasing the radius and increasing the offset between them. Even without exporting, we could just see how it looks. Save that tunnel, dragging the Blender file here, because Unity now supports blend file to be written. Okay, from here to match our previous view, we need to rotate the object 90 degrees. Okay, going to this tab, and just rotate it 90. Save it, jump back to the Unity scene. Okay, as you can see here in the Blender file, it's already have a camera that have been exported. One important note I want you to understand, don't use a negative value on the size property. It's probably gonna look good on Blender, but as soon as you export in Unity, let me show you that on the real example. It probably looks nice now, but as soon as you decrease the material and have some differences, you will notice the collision issue we was having, and that's much worse in Unity. Control save this just to see how it looks. You will see a non-complete faces and overlapping, so I highly recommend to stick with positive values on this. Next, let's give it a little of coloring pattern by disabling that randomness. In some cases that could be useful if you have many objects, but in this case I think the look is very symmetrical, so it probably need a better clean material order. Let's disable the randomness for now, and let's explain how these three material works. This logic is very simple. You will have material 1, material 2, material 3. The object starting at some point, so if we expect this is the first object, that means it's gonna repeat every one material. As you see now, the dark color has been repeated twice, and the regular one repeated once. Setting that to 2 will create that pattern. Also increasing this will create the look that you're looking for, and I think it's useful. The last one is white light, and it's emissive to illuminate the tunnel. Increasing this value will create this unique patterns. Let's save that and see how it looks in Unity.